Hello, George. How are you?
By the grace of God, I'm good. Go ahead.
It's been a long week since I last spoke to you, but before I speak about the second Munich agreement, which is, of course, this Iran deal, I'd like to respond, if I may, to something you said to me last week.
Well, no, I don't recognize you, Joel, in London. Were you Mehdi in London last week?
Well, this is actually my real name. My name's Joel. I'm 15.
Well, before you go on, and I will let you go on. Let this be a lesson to you, Joel. You lied and lied and lied last week, pretending to be someone you were not, then someone else that you were not. You pretended you were in a place that you were not, and then another place that you were not. So that establishes already in the mind of the viewer that you are a persistent liar, and moreover, that there was no need for it. If you are Joel in London, you're welcome now to put your point of view. Go ahead.
All right, just before I do that then, but it was very nice of your person working at Press TV to tell me to F off after I'd made my point. Anyway, last week...
But Joel.
Yes.
Don't tell more lies. You're on the air on Press TV. This is the third time you've been on the air, though the first time that you've been honest about who you are and where you are. So don't slag off Press TV. You're on it. And you have the floor, my dear. Go ahead.
Just last week when you said I cheered when 500 children were murdered, as you put it. They were murdered indeed, but I would like to say that I certainly did not cheer when seeing those heart-wrenching images on the news of mothers who had lost their children, because their blood is no redder than mine. And I think it's wrong for you to cynically pontificate that just because people share a different political opinion to you, that a different political outlook to you, they're happy to see children die. And I think your humanity is no more acute than ours. So I think it's...
What do you mean ours? Who's ours? Who are you speaking on behalf of?
I'm speaking on behalf of the large numbers of Jewish people, of pro-Israel supporters who were very saddened at the tragic loss of life in Gaza.
Well, that's funny that you say that, because the opinion polls said something quite different. I mean, the Israeli opinion polls.
Polls, George?
Sorry?
Which opinion polls, George?
Well, in Haaretz, the most respected Israeli newspaper.
Right, what did that say?
It said that 86% of the Israeli public supported the actions of Netanyahu in Gaza.
That's a different question, though, George.
Really?
Yes, it is, because before I get on to Iran, the actions of the Israeli government, in many Jews and many Israeli supporters' opinion, were not the primary cause of the loss of life in Gaza. The actions of your friends Hamas, which you handed money over to, in ushering people into buildings which had been warned of prior bombings...
Oh, Joel, please. Please don't insult everyone's intelligence. Look, the bullets that killed the children were Israeli bullets. The shells, the bombs, the rockets were Israeli shells, bombs, and rockets. Israel killed them. Everyone knows it. Don't insult people's intelligence. Go ahead.
Do you want me to talk about Iran then?
Well, that's what you said you were coming on to talk about, although we never know, as you know, whether we can believe you or not. So it would be helpful, yes.
All right, I'll talk about Iran then. Okay, the real reason why the West sanctioned Iran is, of course, because it is a terrorist regime which sponsors terrorism. The regime, the very people who paid for this set and paid for the microphone you're speaking in, also, as you're well aware, paid for the executions of 1,193 people in 1 year alone, the second highest out of any country recorded executions. They paid for conferences on Holocaust denial. They also, like you, on camera, handed over money to the terrorist group Hamas. They paid for, among other attacks, the attack in Buenos Aires on the Jewish Cultural Center. The regime which you act as a mouthpiece for is the largest supporter of terrorism, the largest funder of terrorism.
Why then, if all of that were true, have the P5+1 just lifted the sanctions?
Well, many people believe this was a deal that threatened the West's security, and
Are you saying that the P5+1 have decided to act against the interests of their people?
I'm saying that exactly.
And your authority to say so is what, precisely?
Well, the Joint Chief of Staff of the United States Army said exactly the same thing when he urged... But look, this deal does nothing to limit Iran's nuclear weapons.
But Joel, stop a minute. The government of Britain, the government of the United States, the governments of the permanent 5 members of the United Nations have all decided that what you're saying is not true, and that they are bringing to an end the era of confrontation with Iran. So they obviously see something in Iran that you have yet to see. What do you think it is?
Hello?
I think you heard me, Joel.
Okay. Well, the Holocaust-denying regime, which they signed this deal with, is in no ways limited by this deal.
No.
In fact, this deal...
Joel, we're not talking about your views on Iran. These have just been adumbrated by you with very great clarity. We're talking about the big powers in the world. Why have they done a deal with Iran?
Well, in many ways, it's exactly the same reason why, with hindsight, the Munich Agreement in 1939 is very comparable to this.
So the governments of the permanent 5+1 have betrayed their people. That is, the governments who represent some 3 or 4 billion people in the world are either fools or traitors. That's what you're saying, Joel.
Well, what I'm saying is, if you go back and see the agreement made by Neville Chamberlain, you'll see a very...
Joel, are they fools? Are they fools or are they traitors?
They share the same mentality.
Well, I'm asking you, are they fools or are they traitors?
They certainly are fooled by the regime which pays
So they're fools.